And this theory is something you've been thinking about and talking about for decades.
Yeah, I've been involved in it for a very long time. I mean, it started for me back in the 80s when at which time I was a journalist, and my beat included Ethiopia, and I became interested in I was based in Nairobi in Kenya at that time. I was East Africa correspondent for The Economist. Yeah. And I came across the Ethiopian claim to possess the lost Ark of the Covenant, which I found that archaeologists sneered at, and yet it was central to Ethiopian culture. And I began to investigate it. And as I began to look into it more deeply, I found that there was much merit to the Ethiopian claim. And eventually wrote a book about that, which was published in 1992, called The Sign and the Seal. Now, that was the first time that I'd stepped out of current affairs and used such investigative skills as I have to explore a historical mystery. And in that exploration, I became aware of two things that I hadn't been aware of before. Firstly, that archaeologists often do not do justice to the past. The sneering, condescending attitude to the Ethiopian claim to possess the Ark of the Covenant, just dismissing it out of hand without looking into all the underlying evidence that supports it, to my mind, is very shameful on the part of archaeology. They need to have more respect for the ancient traditions of cultures that they talk about. So I realized then, back in the late 80s and the early 90s, that in archaeology I was dealing with a discipline which had a particular fixed view about the past and was not willing to widen that view out in any way. And the other aspect of that investigation, well, it took me to Egypt. You can't tell the story of the Ark of the Covenant without considering the story of Moses and his Egyptian background. It took me to Egypt, and then I found myself, for the first time in 1989, actually confronted by the majesty of the Great Pyramid and the mystery of it. And I was stunned. I was just awestruck by this enormous, incredibly precise, beautiful thing. And I immediately wanted to find out what are archaeologists saying about it. And I found that same kind of very narrow, very limited focus in the archaeological accounts, that they insist that the Great Pyramid was built as the tomb for a specific pharaoh. When in fact there's no evidence that it was built as a tomb for a specific pharaoh. In fact, there's 100+ pyramids in Egypt, and no body of any pharaoh has ever been found in any one of them. There was great excitement when they found a sealed chamber inside the pyramid of Zoser at Saqqara, and in it a sealed sarcophagus. And the hope was that they would find the body of a pharaoh inside there. When they broke it open, the sarcophagus was empty. It had never been looted. It was totally locked and closed, but it was empty. So there's a great mystery about these things. The evidence that the pyramids were built as tombs, particularly the Old Kingdom pyramids, particularly the pyramids of Giza, that the evidence that they were built as tombs is extremely flimsy, and yet that is the story, that is the narrative that archaeologists present. And my feeling was, I need to question this narrative. I need to look at it. Nobody's questioning this narrative. Somebody has to question it and say, well, does it really make sense when you're building a tomb for a pharaoh? Yeah, I get it that you want to build something big and impressive, but would you go to all the trouble of aligning it within a tiny fraction of a single degree of true north? I mean, that is a major technological achievement to get your pyramid, which weighs 6 million tons and has a footprint of 13 acres, aligned very precisely to true north within 3/60ths of a single degree. Nobody's going to know that. Your monument's going to look equally impressive if it's 5 degrees off true north, but the very great care that was taken to do that suggested to me that there's something going on with the heavens and the sky. And then, of course, I came across Robert Bauval's really important work, the Orion correlation theory, which shows that the pattern of the pyramids on the ground is a model of the 3 stars of the belt of the constellation of Orion. And Orion wasn't just any old constellation. It was the figure of the god Osiris in the sky, as far as the ancient Egyptians were concerned. So Egyptological arguments that this is just a random coincidence are completely defeated by the fact that the constellation chosen was the single most important constellation in the Egyptian system. And then furthermore, the orientation of the pyramids on the ground in their relation to the 3 stars of the belt in the sky only becomes perfect 12,500 years ago. It's not perfect 4,500 years ago when the pyramids are supposed to have been built. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that the pyramids were built 12,500 years ago, but what I am saying is that there was a deliberate intention to use the language of astronomy and monumental architecture to memorialize a specific time. And that specific time, when you look at the astronomy, is roughly between 12,800 years ago and 11,600 years ago. Things move slowly in the sky. It's an epoch, it's not a moment. It's an epoch of about 1,200 years. And that epoch turns out to have been a cataclysmic epoch on planet Earth. It's the epoch that geologists know as the Younger Dryas. So I've just gradually worked my way into this subject, and my purpose has been, I feel that archaeologists have enjoyed a monopoly on the narrative of the past. They are the ones that we in our civilization entrust with telling us the truth about the past. And we've got into the habit of not asking them questions, of not questioning their pronouncements about how the past worked. And I felt that there was a role and a need for somebody who, in an intelligent, thoroughly worked out, thoroughly referenced and sourced way, would question the mainstream archaeological narrative. And specifically to consider the possibility that they've missed something really big in our past. And to me, that's where all the evidence points to. It's like a black hole. You almost recognize it by its absence. There's something missing in the past, and there's loads of anomalies that come down to it, that come down from that can only be explained by a forgotten episode in the human story. So I've made it my business to be an advocate of that position, to question the mainstream narrative and to offer an alternative narrative. And I don't insist that people believe me. I just want to add it to the mixture of information that people receive, so that there's not this monopolistic control of information on our past that archaeologists have undeservedly enjoyed for the last century.
Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I am just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
This course has been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just an overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.